Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is your tropical update for July 2nd. We now have two tropical storms to talk about today. Tropical Storm Bonnie has crossed successfully across Central America from the Atlantic to the Pacific, the first storm to do so since Tropical Storm Otto in 2016. Tropical Storm Colin has formed off the southeastern United States coast over South Carolina today. Then we still have that area of interest that we're watching in the Caribbean Sea. That we've been following behind Bonnie for the past week and still hasn't formed and probably won't, according to the Hurricane Center. Let's take a look first at the current impact graphics associated with our two active tropical storms. Tropical Storm Colin going to bring low impacts to portions of South Carolina and North Carolina over the next couple days as it moves off the coast and then becomes non-tropical and actually dissipates out. And Tropical Storm Bonnie also as it moves offshore, causing some minor impacts to Nicaragua and Costa Rica here on its final days impacting land. But that's really about it. Both storms will move offshore, and we don't have anything in the immediate future showing up in the basin. So that's good news, I suppose. So let's first take a look at Colin. Colin formed yesterday. Its center is actually near South Carolina's coast here. But what we really want to talk about is the fact that this storm formed kind of unexpectedly. We talked about it yesterday. There was virtually no model support for this storm, and it kind of formed out of nowhere. Last night, I looked at the radar at around 11 o'clock in the South Carolina area, and it looked like a mesoscale system was over South Carolina. It was rotating at the surface, very clearly rotating at the surface, lots of convection. Like, that looks a lot like a tropical storm would look. And sure enough, I woke up and we had Tropical Storm Colin located over South Carolina. Tropical storm warnings in effect for much of the North Carolina coast and was in effect for lots of the South Carolina coast earlier this morning. But as it moves, continues to move along the shoreline over through about tomorrow mid-afternoon before it moves offshore and then dissipates. Tropical Storm Colin is what we have to talk about. It's going to maintain its strength around 40 miles an hour. We can expect tropical storm force winds over portions of North and South Carolina. Rainfall is not a huge concern, but perhaps a couple few inches over portions of North Carolina. We take a look at the radar there. You can see where the center of the storm is. Just offshore, according to radar, the Hurricane Center placing it a little closer to shore. But nonetheless, somewhere in that general region, there's certainly a tropical storm. Speaking of certainly a tropical storm, Bonnie looking great still. The land not really messing with it much. So it's lots of rotation, lots of convection. Definitely a tropical storm associated with this. Tropical storm warning remains in effect for portions of Costa Rica as well as the entire Pacific coast of Nicaragua here today. Again, it should become a hurricane later this week, but by then it's going to be no threat to land aside from maybe some swells into Mexico, but that's about it. Note that the wind speeds are the same as Colin, but the pressure is about 14 millibars lower, which is significant. It shows that this storm is much more developed than Colin is, and will continue to do so. In fact, here in a second, I'll show you a side-by-side of their intensity forecasts. As we can see here, Bonnie expected to remain offshore, no threat to land, as soon as it pulls away here this evening and afternoon. As we take a look at the dynamical models, we have Colin on the left, Bonnie on the right. Colin maintaining its strength might become a bit stronger, but that's about it. Maybe a bit weaker too. National Hurricane Center holding that forecast steady throughout the next 4 days. Take a look at Bonnie, though. The models still all over the place from dissipating out, which seemingly won't happen. The storm looks very healthy today, and all indications are it will strengthen. So National Hurricane Center and much of the models saying Category 1 hurricane, Category 2 not out of the question. If you're the H-Wharf, which likes to blow up every single storm in existence, it'll be Category 4 by the end of the week. But I don't think that's going to happen. I would venture to guess Cat 1 or 2 associated with Bonnie as we move on. The only other storm we have to talk about is the area of interest in the Central Caribbean located south of Hispaniola, north of the ABC Islands, where that convection is on the right-hand side of your screen here. That's our area of interest we've been watching. The center is somewhere over here, convection far off to the side. Here's Bonnie. Colin's up at the top, so you can kind of see it all there in that image. National Hurricane Center still at 10%. They haven't dropped it from things that they're monitoring yet, but still no model support with this. None of the American or European ensembles at 12Z had anything with this storm, so it's safe to say that one's probably one and done with that. So Colin and Bonnie both active, both moving offshore, and will remain affecting land for a little bit of time, but that should clear the way for us to have a quiet start to July after we get through these storms, and perhaps later in July the basin should start picking back up again. That's all for now. Chris Sixton of Weather, Catholic Media.